Understand this, since is there a transgression that is not considered a sin, he brings in evidence to this, as it is written, from all of man's sins. Afterwards he interprets the verse about theft, which applies specifically between man and men. But what about the myth between man and the Creator? We shall explain this in the work. It is known that all the sins come because of the will to receive, which was imprinted in the creatures by the thought of creation to do good to his creations. After there was a prohibition on receiving in order to receive, which is the correction of the restriction that was done in order to avoid the bruv shame. Because of this correction, the worlds of Kippet emerged by cascading then through the sin of with the tree of knowledge. Two systems emerged, as in God has made one opposite the other. Thus there is of and opposite it. From here stem all the sins, by wanting to receive only in order to receive means that man was created by nature with self-love, meaning that he cares only for his own benefit, only by love, and can he be corrected to work in order to bestow before he receives this correction called in order to bestow. He wants to swallow everything into his own domain, meaning to take everything out from the Creator's domain and bring it into man's domain. Three discernments extend from this in our world. Everything one his own forbidden things, put things out from the Creator. We make two discernments in the permitted things, mandatory or optional. 3. The intention, meaning we should aim with forbidden things to not to do them, so it is for the purpose of bestowing. And with permitted things, whether mandatory or optional, the intention should be to bestow, and not for self benefit, but he keeps, and because of the commandment of the Creator, for he believes in the Creator, that he will enjoy his keeping everything that he has commanded us. This should be his sole intention with everything he does, in positive, negative, and in optional matters. He tries to aim everything for the Creator while engaging in them. It follows that if a person receives pleasure into his own authority, sin is that he takes out from the Creator's domain into his own domain, since everything should enter the Creator's domain, and man is only the Creator's servant and has no authority of his own. Rather, everything should be in his master's domain, and the servant has no authority of his own. However, when he receives the pleasures that exist in this world into his own domain, it seems as though there are two domains. This is regarded as extracting from the domain of the Creator, whose world is his, and letting it into his own domain. Concerning extracting from his friend's domain into his own, we should discern two man's. His friend does not see that he extracts from his friend and lets it into his own domain. This is called a thief. That is, if his friend does not see, has the courage to let his friend's possession into his own domain. If he sees that his friend might see him taking the things and letting them into his own domain, then he will not steal. 2. Sometimes he takes his friend's possession even if his friend resists. This is called robbing, as he robs his friend even if his friend sees, but he is not fazed by his yelling that it's robbery, and he does not allow it. He insists, meaning he does not have the power to overcome the passion that he has for his friend's possession, and he is compelled to rob. The reason he is not impressed by the other looking at him taking is that his will to receive is already fully developed. Said that the difference between a thief and a robber is that the robber has a bigger will to receive than the thief. Therefore, when the thief knows that the owner will see him in the act, the shame gives him strength to overcome and relinquish the theft, but the will to receive of A is so strong that nothing can disrupt him from carrying out his scheme. His desire and passion are so great that he does not consider anything and carries out his plan. Now we can explain what we asked above about wanting to imply that he says should one sin, meaning which of those sins that are called sin, as it is written of all the sins of men. We should interpret what he says of those sins that are called sin, after which he brings evidence from the verse of all the sins of man. What does of all mean? Should interpret that he is implying to the root from which all the sins come, namely the will to receive, with which all the actions in the world begin and with which all the works are concluded. That is, we were given this desire to correct, so it works in order to bestow what the general will to receive is corrected in order to bestow. It will be called the end of correction. This means that all the corrections we must exert in are only to correct the will to receive, so it works in order to bestow. We will be rewarded with adhesion, and we will be able to attain the purpose of creation, to do good to his creations. It follows that at the end of correction, when everything is corrected and there is nothing more to correct, everything should enter, that is, even sins must enter, or a part of the will to receive will be missing, left outside without correction. We said that the intimation that the verse of all the sins of man means everything that extends from this root. That is, we have to know that all sins extend from the rudimentary will to receive, as we know that this is the root of all the creations of all the creatures. Therefore, if even one sin remains, since it extends from the root which is the will to receive, it too must be corrected into working in order to bestow. All this deficiency will be apparent in the root, meaning in the first restriction which was done on the rudimentary will to receive. So we will receive everything that exists in the thought of creation, to do good to his creations in the vessels that have been corrected into working in order to bestow. We can understand this through a depiction. Let us assume that his desire to do good to his creations is for 100 kg of pleasure. Naturally, he had to prepare a CLE with 100 kg of deficiency, otherwise there is no place to put the 100 kilogram of pleasure, because there can be filling only in a place of lack. It follows that if we fill the vessels, meaning deficiencies, and vessels are left outside, meaning some of the vessels that belong to the 100 kg of deficiency, which are unknown and unfit to be filled with the abundance that belongs to them, the abundance that he wished to give the 100 kg of abundance, his desire is not fulfilled because some of the vessels belong to the part of the abundance that still did receive what belongs to them. It follows that all the vessels that emerged at the time of creation must enter. Okay, by this we will understand what the Holy Isa says: the angel of death is destined to be a holy angel. This is as is said above, that since all the bad comes from the will to receive that the Creator created and then restricted, which is called correction, all of the 100 kilograms of will to receive that he has created must be received through the correction called receiving, in order to bestow these discernments that we cannot correct before the end of correction are called and impurity, and but at the end of the correction of all the vessels must enter for the above mentioned reason, otherwise there will be a lack in the abundance. All the vessels must receive the abundance that belongs to their share. Now we can understand what is written of all the sins of Man it pertains to the root of the sins, called will to. Receive this is why it is. Written should one sin and be guilty. The meaning of the verse of all the sins of man is not sins between man and man, specifically as it is interpreted afterwards about the verse, and be guilty it is as you say the guilt is returned to the Lord, where and be guilty means that he will correct his works, his acts, and will return the theft he has robbed, which implies specifically between man and man. However, we should interpret that the root of all the sins is the will to receive, in order to receive, which is what a person receives from the Creator, meaning from his domain, lets everything into his own domain, which is called theft. That is, he extracts from the domain of the Creator, although the Torah screams and says it is forbidden to receive into one's own domain, or it is considered having two domains, the Creator's domain, and he takes the pleasure from the Creator's domain into his own. Follows that he is not regarded as a thief but as a robber, for although the Creator sees him taking his will to receive is so strong that he cannot resist it, which is why he is considered a robber and not a thief. And what is his correction? He returns the theft that he has robbed, meaning repents and corrects, so that all his works enter. He extends a desire that all his works will be in order to bestow. This is why he interprets should one sin and be guilty, that and to be guilty means correction, adds and says this means that what is written and returns means returning by himself, since and returns is not written as imperative but rather returns is precisely by himself. That is, there is repentance from fear when sins become for him as mistakes, and this is regarded as such. Although he returns the theft, however, this is still not regarded as voluntarily, rather, since he still has fear, he returns the theft, but this is not regarded as by himself, meaning of his own volition. So we can say that he is happy with returning the theft, is as though he has no choice. Repentance from fear still does not correct the sin, since the repentance from fear since become only as mistakes. Hence there are vessels that are still outside of, meaning that the upper abundance cannot dress in them. Therefore his desire, which has to do good to his creations to bestow upon the lower ones, still has nowhere to clothe it. Is as though there's a deficiency in the purpose. We were given a correction called repentance from love. At that time sins become for him as merits, and the vessels that were as sins, which are desires to receive that belong to the upper abundance from the perspective of the purpose of creation, are unfit to receive the abundance when merits are made for the from these kim they fit for clothing the upper abundance. The completion of the goal, which is to benefit his creations, can come true to the extent of the abundance that he wanted to give them. Now all the vessels that belong to the general will to receive that divided into several parts, for it is easier to correct smaller parts, have entered. This is as the allegory that Bam said concerning the correction of the tree of knowledge about a king who wanted to send gold coins overseas to his son, but all his country folk were thieves, so he changed the gold coins into pennies, and penny by penny join into a great amount, and by this everything will be corrected. What do you think about this article? Very methodical article, structured, clear. Here kind of leads us through a very clear path. Only a question how he's talking about these very exalted states, and repentance from fear, repentance from love. What can we take from this to our work? Well, something we can take, never for our work that the Creator looks at the end of creation from the beginning to the very end, and so all of these actions towards us are all directed to bring us to the end, and therefore we don't quite understand them in the beginning or in the middle of the path, but here he explains to us that it is all directed towards the complete correction. When we discern some robber, thief, I don't know what else to call it, in our degree, he's not impressed by being looked at and leaving the theft and being corrected and giving it back, but rather continues on. Yes, that's our situation for the meantime. So what's the advice? The advice to keep going and perform more and more connections between us until they will bring us to a degree where we can immediately rise against our individual will to receive of each one and work collectively, meaning that the result we should expect from us asking for its correction needs to be after some time or immediate. What do we need to expect as a result of our request were sin? Or, well, first of all, the request should be for connection, first of all for the correction of the vessels. It's not that we want already to be in a state of receiving in order to bestow, but rather first of all we should have a vessel that is fitting for that, and then we can approach the matter of our connection with the Creator through receiving in order to bestow through equivalence of form. Thank you. And even though it's very high up, he writes that repentance from fears that you have no choice, and repentance from love is of course a much higher state. Yes, can we somewhat ask, do we intend because we have no choice, or now we don't even expect yet out of no choice, or understood, do we need to aspire to advance from love, or first from no choice and then to love, or yes, according to the order? So always this order. Thank you. First we must have a corrective vessel, and then according to the correction of the vessel we will also be able to demand the feeling and the conditions for receiving the feeling. Yes, asking from bar what is theft and robbery in spiritual work, real relation to friends, stealing versus robbing in a spiritual work. It's that I do not give, I do not allow my friends to read a corrected vessel. It depends on me, meaning that each and every one of us, as much as he depends on everyone, they depend on him, and therefore accordingly we can count the number of states, the number of degrees that we still have ahead of us before the correction, so that we can receive in order to bestow. Can't yet reach a state of our first we have to reach bestowing in order to bestow, and receiving in order to bestow. We don't have the vessel for it, how to feel altogether that everything we receive for ourselves, we're stealing from the authority of the friend or the authority of the Creator. Really try to be in a state where we are in a society where everybody depends on everybody, so it's impossible that someone who reaches the complete correction unless everyone supports him. This is called a bot mutual guarantee, and this is what we have to direct ourselves to first of all. What will lead me to the place where I will steal from my friend as much as you attain that your correction depends on the friends. From this you also conclude that the friends depend on you. And how do we locate the place of the authority? The place of authority or permission that already depends on the person. It depends on the person. What a person determines for himself the state that he is in. A person defines for himself the place of authority. Yes, and what exactly is that place of the authority? Place of authority or permission is that he can say now before a mitba, or before a transgression, or before a place of permission of choice. So how do I give back what I stole from the friends if I feel that I stole from them? Is there such a calculation? Yes, you need to come to est state with. Then will you give back to each one to the other what you discover that you stole? How do you give up the theft? Give back the theft. Please consider it that with your heart and soul you want to help each other to correct the vessels. Thank you, KDAVR. Can there be a connection between theft and thieves? Between thieves there's a very good connection. May have such are groups, such are societies where they can all be devoted to each other, even more so than our group. But is the creator with them? Yes, they want to use the connection between them. The creator helped them as well, but they don't want connection. They want the other loot, what they can get. Yes, but along the way they do care for their connection. And how do you come out of that? This is already through true repentance, where we need to see how we can rise above it. He writes about it. Does our way move through the path of the connection between thieves? I hope not. I hope that we bypass those possibilities in advance. If there's a discernment of a thief, then he's not like worried that he's being seen. Yes, he's not under the awareness that the creator sees that he's taking. So that's a certain kind of connection between feds. But between robbers, can there be such a thing between the robbers? The connection can be even stronger. They don't care. They're seen. This is the difference between the robber and the thief, that the robber can steal before everyone's eyes and it doesn't stop him. The fact that he are stealing and everybody sees him. Again, the sin is actually in that the person aspires for the pleasures for himself, or in that he thinks that he's their self altogether. Well, both. It depends on the degree that he's in. Okay. Yes, if I hear correctly, a person identifies the will to receive that is more and more developed, and the answer to that is correction through the connection with friends. Yes, to approach the connection with the friends becomes impossible the more the will to receive develops. So what is the action that precedes the connection with the friends? What do I do in order to approach the connection? Realize that connection is the only correction. Sometimes that's not enough, because I understand, but I kind of need some kind of push, some force from above, or then it's not considered that you understood it. The what is to understand, what to think about it. Well, yes, that the connection between us is the correction for all the crimes, corresponds to the breaking of the vessel. Okay. Can ask him from Africa, or can I ask forgiveness from the thief? Forgiveness from the thief. Sorry, thief. What is the forgiveness? We don't ask forgiveness from the thief, but rather we have to subdue him, make him put down his foot and ask for correction. The F exists in every person, so the person must perform such actions in connection with his 10, where he receives the forces to correct his attitude to the connection with each and everyone in the group. How to discern when I'm a thief and when I'm a robber. In the T, the thief actually enjoys the fact that he's stealing. The robber also enjoys the action itself. If you will, let's say, give him, he will happily take it. That's the fey, but the enjoys taking it from the M of the other, that he rises above the other, he lies to him. This is his pleasure, meaning it's a more spiritual pleasure with the robber compared to the thief. The F only looks at, let's say the robber looks at how he does it cunningly. This is what he enjoys. In my work in the T, can I discern between them? Work in the 10, we distinguish between one and the other. How much after you have stolen you enjoy telling the friends that I yesterday stole, or you tell your friends how much you performed actions in order to reach a state where you still in a corrected, well, not corrected way, in a special way so that you're doing it in front of everyone and nobody can recognize you, that you are working towards the Creator and towards the friends. As that's a robber. If you only think about the money, about the possession, then it's a thief. Okay. Charlie, 3, is asking there are realities for a physical connection and a virtual connection. In a physical connection you can always feel more the emotions, what's the effort you have to add. In a virtual connection, so be as powerful as in a physical connection. Well, we need to feel the friends more, that they are somewhere and in our vessels, in our feelings. We don't have a common feeling, and that is our difficulty, our hardship. Yes, good morning, our good morning world, and is like an intermediate Satan. Robber is that he has no feeling of none else besides him. Yes, the robber, one who nevertheless steals, not taking anything into consideration, so it's not a point of question. You told that you're a robber, and that you have to like bow your head before the Creator no shows you some point and says, this is the robber within you and you have to do something with it. Rash writes several places in the article, that person takes the pleasure from the control of the craw to himself. What does it mean to take the pleasure of the Creator into his own control? That the Creator created feelings and pleasures only in order for them to be received, in order to bestow, so that they connect to him. In when we do it for the sake of the Creator, as it becomes revealed to us that the Creator is doing it for us, receiving pleasure for the sake of the Creator needs to be while we're in connected to him, meaning the promise that the connection with him was destroyed. Do it for the Creator, then I'm in adhesion with him, I'm connected to him, I do it for him, and then our action is a kosher, is correct. It's you legal permitted these spiritual actions of robbing and being a thief. In our 10 we have this diary that we fill. Some friends write, some some don't fill it out. So is there a robber or a thief towards this? If you agree that you're going to write in this common diary, common notebook, every day you're in, a goals will be reflected. Then one who does not write there is not part of the group. It's very important. By the way, we are already coming closer to being able to make such a lists. We don't need to show them to anyone else except the group, the 10. It's only for your internal usage, and there you actually need to write only those new things that you discover between you. But those news, it's anger, it's sore, some prayer, what needs to be there. Well, try, and then we will talk about it. It will help us to understand better ourselves. It will help us to be closer to the friends and to move further, move on faster. We can take step forward only after we take a step towards each other. Question is, how do you write to not insult the friend? There shouldn't be anything there about something that is insulting or non-insulting. It should all be very direct. You're not, if you're not yet capable of doing that, then don't do it. Each one can then and write to himself, and after a few such weeks maybe you will want to start a common registry, a common diary, but it should all be very clear and very short and to the point. There are more and one. Good morning, dear all. What does it mean to come to the sense of being guilty, of becoming ashamed, becoming responsible for the theft of the friend? When a person starts to understand more deeply internally the content of that action that he invited, actually we're not responsible for, let's say, for being a thief, because the Creator created us as a thief. So how can we be responsible for this action, let's say, of our of being a thief and being ashamed of it? Don't agree with it. Keep going forward and you will succeed. Every moment you must repent. See, where did I perform a transgression? And what should I do in order to correct it? Okay. Warren. It turns out that our work is first of all to discover that we're thieves, and to pray to the Creator to help us. Yes, maybe not only thieves, but also what do you call it? Robbers. Shalom. Hello. According to the article that we just read, the robbers are more developed than the thieves as far as their will to receive meaning, potentially closer to being friends to us on the spiritual path. In Know the Path, there was a team managed by Ness that took care of our prisoners in prisons. You see in this era right now, and the importance of talking about dissemination of the wisdom of Kabbalah, specifically to do dissemination in prisons. And I don't think that in prisons we will find people want to steal or rob from the spiritual society their vessels and their forces. Rather, you have people there who only want money. More, don't wait for Nessie to bring you to the correction, even though he's a good guy. I don't know, there are so many questions. We can resist the robber, and how can we resist the thief? What's the difference? The thief, we can only catch up with him and extract the fact from him. We need to learn how to do that. Against Theba, we have to catch up with him, and in order to extract the theft from him, we have to scare him, fight with him. Because, well, he's a robber. He wants everything. He already has a more clear attainment of what is it that he has stolen from us, and we're trying to get back from him, meaning that here there is already a higher attainment inside of what he has obtained. Latin to the new. Very much can we say that if in my intention I'm bothering my friends to come closer to the Creator, I'm robbing from them. If I say something in the tea that becomes a stumbling block for my friends, that I'm attacking them. Yes, 30. To what should we do to friends that do not observe the covenant in the 10 and prevent our advancement? We have to work on them, pressure them, bend them, because this is a law that are without keeping it we cannot advance. Why the whole group must be against such things. Everyone should speak of other importance of incorporation and common work. Can I continue? Yes, on the other hand, we say that we shouldn't pressure friends. What exactly can an individual person do? What do I need to actually do? Connect to the friends, i.e. in the connection with them, whether you are correct about your general half, the general way that the 10 is following. That's first of all to the extent that you are in a single thought, a single action, then you can move on. Okay. 1. What's the difference between annulment to the control in spiritual work? Annulment versus control. Yes. Annulment is when a person annuls himself on the path, meaning that he wants to control others in order to advance on the path the way it seems to him. These are two opposite states, and when a person sees the control of the friends as if the friends are overcoming, controlling, he have toy. Not always, I don't know, it depends on the situation. Okay, well, let's move on to the women. On woman, Turkey 7 for speech. Good morning, our friends. Can you explain how sins can become virtues? Sins are the development of the will receive of a person. If we combine them with our intention to bestow, then we receive vessels in which we can receive. In order to bestow, this is how we reach the light of woman. For 11. Shalom, hello, and everyone. To steal pleasure from the Creator. This talking about receiving pleasure without our screen. Well, that's what we want to develop, but it's impossible, right? Because there's a first restriction. So how can you steal? You can't, but the desire does exist, and that's already called stealing. Good morning, dear Rov, and Friends, if there's a robber in the 10 that feels that she received not appropriate our relations, should we continue our correction, or do we need to resist just like a robber to her? We need to enter a scrutiny together, and then by that everyone will advance. Women Latin 24. Thank you. Our greetings to the friends. My question: what are the sins that are supposed to enter after the correction? They enter corrections and then good morning. Thank you for answering me. What is the meaning that everyone needs to enter? And in this it's clear that the holies are said that in the future the angel of death will become a holy angel, that we will sanctify all of the demands of the angel of death, which is a will to receive, so that it becomes in order to bestow, then it will bring us to the highest and in the 10 house this expressed it's already in the end of correction. It 4 ask you give us the mission of writing in this diary, and we have a problem. We write mostly the negative feelings that we feel. It's not clear to me how to work. Let's say I see friends writing about their negative emotions. What do I do in relation to that? We have to scrutinize what to do about them, because we can use them in order to enter CAD, in order to get closer to the purpose of creation. It doesn't matter if it's negative. Say that's he trying to understand. We're trying to do the right work with these feelings that are written, but we don't know exactly what to do with them. First of all, you need to connect above these emotions and then scrutinize when you are above these feelings what to do with these feelings that now exist in within you, how to use them. No, that's it. Luigi, we're done. H turkey for turkey. For good morning. C morning, my friend, is the feeling of distance from the 10 our sign that we're thieves? No, it's not yet a sign. You need to scrutinize it. A feeling doesn't mean anything. The person feels things for all kinds of reasons. It need to scrutinize where does it come from, why, for how does he advance with that relative to his previous state, etc. It requires further scrutiny. Turkey, good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Raw friends, who does the sin belong to? The sin, I don't understand. The sin belongs or pertains to the Creator. He shows us that we exist in a sin. So what do we need to do after that? We need to do the other half of the path. We should try to correct ourselves by the same Creator. Okay. Good morning. Raw, good morning. Friends, it appears as if the robber is a worse quality than a thief, but the robber is disclosed and the thief hides. Yes, the robber, as far as revealing the truth, is higher than the thief. So what state any is closer to correction, the robber or the thief? The robber. Thank you. Woman, hello everyone. Dear, please tell us what helps in the war with yourself when you understand that you're a robber. Only the connection with the friends. There is nothing besides that where you'll receive the answer to each and every state. We have a question: where do we start the correction? Is it the work of the heart, of the mind? How do we approach it? Both this and that. I can't give you a single answer. Both the mind and the heart. We need to detect what state we're in with respect to the correction. Okay, no D can thank you. I just see that there's another relevant point to us. A person that's in order to bestow, does he see thieves before him in order to? Though yes, if I want to be in order to bestow, possibly yes, maybe. Does he see thieves relative to himself when he is in order to bestow? He sees far hindering him, so that he cannot perform an act of bestow on the friends. Does he see that they're stealing from him, or that he's taking some kind of debt, for example? According to what I understand, if a person's in order to bestow, he just wants to give. He has no feeling that he has something of his own, and then you can't steal from him, so a person is who's in order to. This happens in R10. We start a meeting. At first there are complaints, and then it kind of disappears, that feeling kind of a little bit of the force of best clothes us, and then we don't see the friends that they're kind, causing bad, rather we want to give them so that we can help. Then so can we say that in a state where a person's in more bestow than he sees less friends that are stealing from him, he doesn't see them as thieves because they're coming to help him and be in bowl well. Possibly I don't yet want to talk about that. I don't think that a person who is in as a result, he doesn't see in his friends actions that are against this street. That's the second half of it. Maybe doesn't see him himself, but does he see it between the friends he lets get towards myself? I don't have anything of my authority, so they can't steal from me. But can you see that between the friends and then relate to them that way because of it? Nevertheless is in a state where he justifies everyone. Can it be in the tenor common awareness that everyone is robbing, or is it personal work common awareness of something negative? Can be. That's already a high degree. It already indicates a certain connection between them. And what do you do in such a case where everyone you connect and realize that the Creator is giving them a sign that they were successful? Okay, we do. Next we have the study of the 10, but we also have still in the 10, if I have a financial situation in the 10 better than my friends, that's something to correct. Let's say am I considered a thief? By that, why, where does this question come from? Thief or robber is corresponds to the action that a person performed or wants to perform, but it's not it's only respect to a state or something he intends to do or he has done. Okay, yes. Gee, I want to ask about the order of the correction, because it seems like the thief is more problematic than the robber. Thief, it's not so obvious, not so clear, he's hidden. Theba, catch him and bend him and correct him, meaning you don't demand a correction from him. The thief, we seemingly demand correction, so it appears like the thief is more problematic. See you, he's kind of sophisticated, he's cunning. So what do they say, that the robber is worse than the thief in terms of his will to receive? Simply his will to receive is so great that he does want what you have by stealing cunningly, so you won't know about it, but he just comes and takes. So what's the order of correction that is revealed to us? How are the forces to correct appear in us first? What first? We have to correct the thief. Lama lyy first, the thief, because he doesn't work by force. He operates not in action, but only with the intention. He's concealed, he's cunning. How do you correct him? First, the robber. You see him, you say, oh, here, this is the robber, but the thief, it's kind of concealed. What is the question? What do we correct first? Do we correct first if I have before me or a thief? Well, what can you do with the robber? To shame him, to cause him to at least not be insolent. That's easier, so it would appear like it's easier because he's disclosed. Yes, that's something else. Yes. Okay, so is there an order, or it's revealed to us this and that? You're right. I'm asking, is there an order, or is it revealed to us? Just when it's revealed to us, we ask for help for everything. We want to reveal both the thief and the robber. And here there's a question from where do we begin? Right, so we begin with the thief. And how do you help a friend? Let's say if I negate in my flaws, but how can I help a friend that I see that has that quality? A quality of robber and thief exists in each and every one of us. It depends only on the height that we discover it, that the control of the evil Inclination is revealed so according to that we come and corrected the correction of my attitude. I understand, I ask, I pray, but how do I help a friend connect also the correction you talked about before? That's not a correction. The correction is only through connection. So as much as we connect on a certain degree, we correct the B, and on a certain degree we correct the rubber. It all has to do with the measure the size of the will to receive it. Still not clear the work with the diary in the 10. We take part of our meeting after we read Osh article, and then we ask ourselves, what are we writing there? And in the middle of the day, there's like 1 or 2 friends that can respond to that, and there's an understanding that when you read, you're not in there, so you write it in the diary, but as a common action that or searching for mutual area and to write out of there. It's still, if we could elaborate on it a bit. I didn't understand what you're saying. What do we write in that diary? What common area are we writing about? What do you think? What should we do with a thief in us, and what should we do with a robber in us? So this is this article, so the next article the same thing, no, and the next article is what each article awakens in us. So the writing is in relation to what we absorbed from an article. Yes, of course, isn't it obvious? Yeah, yes. How can I be sure that I'm not stealing from the friend in a spiritual work? Ask him if you stole from him or not. Scrutinize it together. What should we scrutinize together? If you stole or not is not clear. Ask him, and you'll see how much you'll have to talk about how he looks at it and how you look at it. So it's a sensitivity we have to develop between us. Yes, and you will understand each other better. Yes, he's that when he it. But what is the repentance of love? How do you reach that if you correct the robber? But the robber is only in potential. You can call by force, you can correct them. How does that bring you to love? Scrutinize it, and we'll talk about it. So let's go to the next part and sing a song. First, you feel so far away, separated from him all the time. Still you're trying to live, but the moment has come to demand what you need to return and move up step by step. Then the lock on your heart suddenly break apart from the darkness. The light shining in above the ups and downs. The love of friends is the only way we can grow. With one intention we will send to him the prayer of many from us. Will, when the G to your heart is sealed off by a stone, and there's no G for love to get in, you feel so far away, separated from him all the time. Still you're trying to live, but the moment is come to demand what you need to return and move up step by step. Then the lock on your heart suddenly breaks apart from the darkness. The light shining in above the ups and downs. The love of friends is the only way we can grow. With one intention we will send to him the prayer of many from us below, of above the ups and downs. The love of friends is the only way we can grow. With one intention we will send to him the prayer of many. Prize alone. Big. We're reading from the study of the 10, part 6. We are in item 26, the words of the. You can find the study materials on our websites, and you can also send questions live through the website. 26, the words of the place of from, the is from, the of to the of, the are in the 3 first 3 joints, of in the 3 middle joints, and in the 3 lower joints, as in zone that close over. Yes, that's it. Other interpretation, the inner light. 26, inner light for it. 26, 3 joints in light. 26 are in the first 3 joints of he, of in the 3 middle joints, etc. There are 4 divisions that you find here. To understand this we must first Know the two changes here regarding the of that. Preed the first is the matter of the vessel of D which did not exist in the teeth from where did it emerge herein. The T of the second is the matter of the goof of, says about the of the three, preceding that they begin from the as in. Part 5 regarding present and not. Present however here he says that the goof begins from the vessel of do and not from he. Counts only the 7 lower sp as the entire, and not the t meaning only. And yes, the thing is that you already know that the g of are the phase of is, and which is the first of because the lower hey that ascended to the and the place of the coupling that ascended to the of the became a vessel of reception and goof this goof of are the g of thus the two vessels and of those remained in your so as the first the three vessels came in the and became the second are the Ophic you already know that the entire amount in the pusses and cloths in the goof as well. It turns out that since there are only 3 vessels of it in the go has no more than these 3 vessels, since everything that exists in the goof must be received from the of has only the 7 lower sp which are and the 5 vessels of as are as 1 vessel here as explained below, and the vessel of mal is the 7th however in the 3 previous, meaning before the 10 were divided into 2 degrees and there were 10. Complete this entire amount passed to the goof, to hence there goof had from to mal as well matter of the innovation of the in the 10 has also been explained. It comes from the phase of misplacement of the lights in the light of clothed in the v of the light of and the light of in that is in the vessel of b became the of that which is the man of b, the matter of the clothing of the light of which is the level of in the vessel is considered that be not descended to the degree of z, as brought in words above regarding the coupling on the level of due to the above misplacement of the lights there was a decline in all the degrees descended to the degree of and to the degree of it has been explained that because of the clothing of the light of z in the vessel, its name was changed into the view, can therefore understand the matter of the exit of the light of z from inside to the outside which the speaks. Henceforth you will find that the inner where the light there was light of z and the vessel of z as it should be. However the light of z ascended n, clothed in the vessel of vena in s of the light of zanin ascended, and clothed in the vessel of and in the light of z ascended to the vessel of it is written above that the that emerges from the light of the has only the level of phase, one which is the level of the female, of which is the primary light. However, the level of b in the male does not expand below the g of Nikim. We therefore ask, since it has been shown that the phase of is merely the vessel of since the first took therefore the of should have been called the of as it was written that the light of z in the vessel of is called. The answer is that since it is discerned as for itself it is called also, and this is the main point. The K also has a level of phase 2 from the first coupling, however it also incorporates the second coupling from the level of phase 1, which is the light of z. Therefore, here it is still not considered that the light of z emerged but only in the world of, for there it clothed in the vessel of and is considered to have emerged. Now you will thoroughly understand that, since the vessel of b of the goof has no light of bina, since the light of bina ends and is blocked in the g, it name is therefore changed to do, as it has none of the light of. That's the reason that the emerged in the world Ophic is because here the vessel of being of goof has become completely empty of her own light. Also you find that the reason of has only the lower 7 sp is because only the these are also at the namely, and this is the root for the division of into 3. They follow the 3 is the as the which are the middle joints are discerned as, and the which are the lower joints are discerned as. The reason for the division is that because in this entire that shines in that there are no more than these 3. This is because and in them remained above the tab in above the considered and is not counted among the of. However, the counts for divisions here. This is because there were 2 times in this and in the beginning of their emanation they emerged in, because they emerged from on the level of phase 1, which is merely the light of. However, afterwards there was a second coupling of the ab s as and the of emerged, which are. This is why the divides them now by the order of the correction of the lines as close of, meaning on the right line and on the left line, on the middle line, the beginning there emanation, the beginning of their emanation. The lower 7 emerged only one after the other in one line as the rights. Hence forth it turns out that the speaks of a second version emanation of the manuscript of the author BAS ski. Over that part it is written that from the is clothed in at the of the and are in the first 3 joints of. It turns out that the first meaning that were separated from one another because cloth clothed the tops of the. We must understand that moreover where did the come to from after all the will count it henceforth among the 7 lower of the thing is that you know that the are the for that went out from the is the phase often and in the state of the correction of the lines is discerned as and the is. It has been explained above that through the coupling of a bag phase 4 descended from thike to the as in the beginning the rose to the once more and the light of God descended to them. It explains there that despite that no change was made in the pre-state and did not descend below the tab once more because of that, but only its illumination. Hence these G are discerned as and became, meaning that those that were previously on the level of which are the in them that returned to the phase of has now become in them returned to the and has now become, and the rest of the have now become that also the phase of which is that returned to the has now become. It has been explained how the that were in the G of became during the where theme became and the know that from here on 2 phases were formed in each because the that went out from the became the goof, which are the level of after there is actual that were never in the phase of. These 2 phases are divided on the tab of each because which are the that became the goof. Their place is above the tab and they are regarded as the of that the actual are discerned as zone on that, and their place is below the T, also below the tab, which are the actual. So they too have that same distinction when they expand into of their own end at the tab. They are discerned as they went out from of the, meaning the actual below the T or actual phase, meaning those that were never in its phase of. Now the order of the clothing of that explains here is thoroughly clarified. It has already been explained that in its sag there was the beginning of raising of man, toik which kissed the exit of the from the. However, there was no change in itself and the of that did not exit it. Rather it is considered that a special of the sow emerged there, and all this great change occurred in. For this reason we do not discern Here that there's a phase of above that as in from that follow, rather from its tab up is the phase of and its 10 begin from the above mentioned. Also that entire new weather became are considered in him as merely below the T of its lower its clothing resembles the zone of that cloth below the therefore the ophic which is discerned a sun, namely from the beginning of its emanation clothes the lower third of since there is discerned as and the 5 degrees of the perspective of its vessel clothes only below the T above and not above its T because it is the phase of and the ophic has no hold in the of R in the first 3 joints of and it was explained in inner light that the of is in the phase of the 5 edges from the perspective of the vessel and there is the phase of the 5 edges hence the and in fight that returned to the and became they clothe the upper thirds of and of which are the phase of and whether is in and there is in however now these and became actual and because they returned to the as in the beginning thus have an equal relation to the upper joints of since from the beginning of their emanation they are discerned as like them the of Nick clothes the upper joint of concealed between the tops of the inside the goof meaning inside which is the vessel of the 5 edges. This is so because that is discerned as the light of clothed in the vessel of Ena. You already know that these consist of the 7 lower because the consists of and the is. You also know that only in them became while the 5 from down became the phase of that. This is so because there is discerned as of the 5 edges from the perspective of the light in it. Hence its power is valid when it returns to the phase of when it receives once more. There is discerned as of the 5 edges from the perspective of her light, hence she now returned to being is discerned as the light of Zion, the 5 edges thus now that it is clothed in which is from the perspective of the vessel it became the and clothes the upper joint of which is clothed in the internality of however from the perspective of clothing it clothes up. The reason is that the reason is that there is from the phase of in the 5 edges it is known that the screen that makes the coupling with the upper light is in the vessel of Mal. This is why there has 3 joints which are the 3 places of the coupling. For this reason the phase of that in the over which the coupling was made clothes the upper joint of which is the phase of R in the 3 middle joints and in the 3 lower joints, since you know that these are the Z which are the actual phase of that were never in the phase of it. Has also been clarified that the actual zone are also divided on the 2 phases of the tab above, that they are its phase of that went out from the and they are called below the tab are its zone that were never in its phase of O, and they are called the 3 middle joints, and the 3 lower joints are also divided according to this relation were clothed the middle joints and the lower joints. There's yet another reason truer in this place. You already know that of the 5 edges are the phase of in them, and the phase of Z in the 5 edges begins in from the perspective of the vessels and begins in the from the perspective of the lights are divided. Thus the them is the phase of that actually returned to the them is discerned as the G of the 5 edges, meaning and the in them are which are of the 5 edges. We have clarified the 4 divisions of the 10 that are in them during the G. The first is the of it is not counted herein, the since it is discerned as the middle as the male of the which is the phase of and the self of the light of own, for it has a second phase of clothing the second which from the beginning of their emanation are only the light of that went out from the was and became the phase of however during the they became the phase of once more they also have illumination from the light of ozone through their incorporation with the male the third, all which were never in the phase of O, but from the perspective of the five edges regarded as the fourth, all which are the fuzz of and mal of the five edges one might ask since the returned to the and became one with the G and in it which are and became one with the which, and thus there are only three phases. Here indeed you should remember that no change occurred in the upper SP, again because of the return, of which is the phase of that remained above the tab on its own, as in the beginning Ophic which is phase 2 also, remained on its own as in the beginning, and only their illumination reached when they returned to the okay, well enough for today of this what else we have so we'll go to the next part of the lesson we're reading the introduction to we are reading in the writings of the introduction to the book. Item 5 the study material is on system. You can send questions live through the sites. Anyone asking a question in the study hall should stand up, hold the microphone close to his mouth and speak loudly and clearly. Item 5 now you will understand what is written in the Z. With this composition the children of Israel will be redeemed from exile also in many other places only through the expansion of the wisdom of Kabbalah. In the masses will we obtain complete redemption. Our sages also said the light in it reforms him. They were intentionally meticulous about it to show us only the light enclosed within it, like apples of gold in setting of silver. In it lies the goal, the power or the remedy that reforms a person. Both the individual and the nation will not complete the aim for which they were created except by attaining the internality of the Torah and its secrets, although we hope for the complete attainment at the coming of the Messiah. It is written will give wisdom to the wise. It also says in the heart of every one who is wise-hearted I have placed wisdom. Hence it is the great expansion of the wisdom of truth within the nation that we need first, so we may merit receiving the benefit from our Messiah. Consequently the expansion of the wisdom and the coming of the Messiah are interdependent questions. What to receive the reforming light that we have to it, understand what it is and know about it. You need to know that with the help of the light that reforms we reach equivalence with the Creator. Is it enough for a person to place himself in a place or read some writings of Kabbalist or the Book of Ezra where he knows that there is such a thing there as a reforming light, or does he have to demand something to demand? It's written to demand. I'm trying to know what are the minimal conditions for every person from Israel to receive the reforming light. Desire thank you. We know that without a deficiency there's no filling without a vessel, so we know that those who have a point in the heart they join a group. That's why we have the world. So how will the wisdom of Kabbalah spread if there's no vessel in the nation? How will the nation the wisdom of Kabbalah spread in the nation? I don't know yet either. Until doesn't happen in practice you can't say that it's really clear. There are people who have a desire for this, that we call it a point in the heart, and there are people that don't really have it, or maybe just a bit, and that's it. But first he says only by the wisdom spreading in the entire nation will reach redemption. First of all, just in a broad way without asking about it as much as you can help the wisdom of expand among the people. Afterwards, by the wisdom of truth, spreading until the deed comes called redemption, the coming of the Messiah, and so On what? Who was it? Yeah. Continuing. Therefore we must establish seminaries and compose books to hasten the distribution of the wisdom throughout the nation. This was not so in this was not the case before, for fear lest unworthy disciples might mingle, as we have elaborated above. This became the primary reason for the prolonging of the exile. Far many sins to this day our sages said Messiah, son of David, comes only in a generation that is all worthy, meaning when everyone retires from pursuit of honor and lust. At that time it will be possible to establish seminaries among the masses to prepare them for the coming of the Messiah, son of David, or in a generation that is all unworthy, meaning in such a generation when the face of the generation is as the face of a dog, and righteous shall see be cast away, and author's wisdom shall go astray in them. At that time it will be possible to remove the careful guard, and all who remain in the house of Jacob with their heart pounding to attain the wisdom and the purpose holy will be said of them, and they shall come and learn. This is so because there will no longer be fear lest one might not sustain one's merit and trade the wisdom in the market, as no one in the mob will buy it. The wisdom will be so loom in their eyes that neither glory nor lust will be obtainable in return for it. All who wish to enter may come, and enter many will roam, and the knowledge will increase among the worthy of it, and by this we will soon be rewarded with the coming of the Messiah and the redemption of our souls. Questions. So what's he telling us? Obviously, we remain a minority of the whole nation, but in this minority at least, there are desires to reveal the Creator, to come closer to Him, to unite with Him, and in our connection with the Creator will be rewarded with a vessel that can draw the upper light, called Messiah, and through this light all the force will come that will correct the whole nation, and then the whole world. K. and David. Yep. David, you said that the expansion of the wisdom depends on the desire of people. Yes, but I guess it's enough the desire that's being revealed that's sufficient. If it is enough, then why must we establish seminaries and compose books? Like it's as if we have to do our own we need to do these things that if people who want to study that they will have a place for it. Can yet thank you can. Yeah, on one hand he says the king is glorified in the multitude of people so that the wisdom will spread throughout humanity. Yeah, on the other hand he says only a minority will attain it, so it's unclear, as if there's a contradiction. The method itself has to spread throughout all of humanity, but to attain it there's only a minority ready for it. So what is the expansion of the wisdom throughout humanity? I don't know to what extent it has to spread, but in order to attain this wisdom there are only few people ready for it. Can it be said that you've been saying all those years that only connection in all of humanity is enough? Yes, thank you. If the wisdom of Kabbalah were revealed before, was the danger that it would be done with what would be done with it wouldn't be adapted to those souls that back then were clothed in the bodies of this world. That's clear, but let's assume that it would be revealed that Kabbalists wouldn't hide it. What would happen to it? Then what would they do with the wisdom of Kabbalah? What would they make of it? They wouldn't be able to use it correctly, meaning they wouldn't feel internality, the unique internality in it to bring us closer to the Creator. Okay, and then what would they make of it? What would it become? They would just lower it as a regular wisdom in this world, like they did with and all other the parts of the Torah. In other words, the wisdom of would have become like a regular religion. Why didn't they do it from the okay, so but what is special in our generation? What is special about us that we will not turn the wisdom of Kabbalah into religion. We don't have a tendency not to religion and also not to wisdom. What are these two inclinations? Should we be careful of them? Should we notice them, or are we protected from them and it won't happen to us? Obviously this comes to us from above, revealing a certain desire that we are such that aren't drawn to lust through this wisdom. And this is basically what he means when he says that now it's protected. You see how many people there are that are listening to the wisdom of Kabbalah, and as much as you want to give it to them, they aren't really running over to you to accept it. Look how many people we had, and just scattered and left. Even the quantity and quality of exertion that we can also help them give, they can't, they don't want it, they don't want it. No, so what do we? Wait. Thank you. Ken, what is the connection between our souls and the qualities we have to correct? Through the souls we feel an attraction to the Creator, some height to some manner of the revelation of the Creator that we want. Through this we get a connection with the general vessel. I'm asking the correction we have to correct, the correction we have to correct. Is it something that is the rash article we read about the thieves? I felt that it was both a special discernment that our generation has to correct, and also that our correction, it's very special. It's only through the 10 that we can do it. So what is the connection between type of souls we have and the correction we have to perform when the general system of the world is revealed, even in certain 10 of small people, that from this they start? You can feel that if a person or a tent corrects these qualities, then all of the that's how they express themselves, and this is how they can awaken the Creator, that we are from below and he's from above, and we're starting to pace towards one another to the final last correction. Yes, and nothing, it's a wonder. Oh yes, there is. Hello, greetings world. See to what extent we think a lot about our dissemination. If we can say a few words about it, our dissemination, I think, is like teaching people how to read and write a language. We give people a new language after all, so that afterwards they'll be able to receive what we have through this language. This is what it looks like today. This is what we do. Is this so? What do you think? Yeah, that's possible. It's similar. Could be. Woman, help. Do we indeed? After decades of dissemination, we see that there is a very small minority that's drawn to the wisdom, and the vast majority of it are repelled from it. Where is this wall between these and those? Is it in those who are repelled, or in those who are drawn to the wisdom? I don't think in either of them. Just as Sash used to say, we're lacking trouble. Just like that, we're lacking trouble, and then to the extent that they get stronger, everybody will run to it. Troubles now in the people of Israel. No, that's not enough. We see there's nothing unique in this, and the people of Israel know how to avoid in a very cunning way out of every situation, and to lower the trouble that are sent from above by the Creator in a way that you almost don't feel how severe the stat is. What in their troubles should bring people closer to I don't know. I'm not the Messiah who knows exactly what you need to do, and to look at the end of it. Okay. Yes, 32 is asking what type of connection should there be between us so that the wisdom of Kabbalah will be felt more in the world. Only the connection between us towards that's what we need, just like that. That's why I think that it's worth going back to the article. Now we might feel in it more than what we've discovered there before. Okay, all right. So say let's okay according to what is each generation unworthy or Unworthy what the great ones write like. EU. See, there's nothing to add. What is that according to what the great ones determined, the one and the wisdom of truth? I have seen a few of those people that belong to the previous generation, and they were really attaining corrections and the illumination of the Messiah. From may rest in peace and special souls. So can it be dependent on the one who attains? The one who attains, can he do determine if the generation is worthy or unworthy? Yes. Could he? Thank you, Ken. Yes. What is special about the points in the hearts that awaken today? Because we see that we have a new course. Now they belong to the final vessel, that they can really be drawn to the end of correction and demand the end of correction, and to receive the conditions of the end of correction. And it doesn't matter if millions come up for the end of corrections. We need a few people just in a high quality, but the high quality, it'll be compared to that generation that they're in, meaning could be that it can happen with us. That's why each and everyone must see the friend as the greatest in the generation. Yes. David, have you mentioned that I've been having a question for a long time about this? No, I mean that died a little while ago. He was the original. We see he was B's contemporary. There are two types of contemporary Kabbalists. Some go into the nation and operate within the nation. They bring the hearts of every person that they can closer to them in the community, like at the time he did everything to bring every person closer. In very practical way, he would travel in all kinds of settlements and he would speak, and there's a way that Rash worked, who sits and waits. Those who have a point in the heart will come and study with him. He'll be able to teach him. I may be wrong, maybe it's not so, but on the face of it, that's what it looks like. That there are those who go into the nation and work, and there are those who wait for those whose point in the heart awaken, and they'll come and study with them. How are these two approaches? What do you think of is correct in our generation for us right now to be more like these or like those? I think this is what this point is about, what the text talks about, to be like this or like that. I heard that after Balaam in all his forces, he printed the book of Z with the latter commentary. All his students would go all over Israel and try to sell those books to the people, and the people didn't want to take it. The messes, not only the messes, but altogether they didn't want to take the Z, especially what a commentary of the latter. What is that? What is it for construction workers? Who wants it? And it didn't work. Afterwards, when I came to Abash, there still weren't any in all of Israel. There weren't any groups who were studying the wisdom of Koba, and I started discovering to hear 3 there, and it was old people that the end of their days wanted to just sit and maybe learn a bit to fall asleep with the I don't know what it'll be, but I think that still the time has changed. The audience has changed, and we well shouldn't let our hands down. We have to try and explain the Book of Z and other writings of the Psalm, that without that humanity will entirely fall into the darkness. That's what I want to say, and it's in our hands and in our times to do it. That's it. Yep, what's the problem with reading the Book of Ezra every night, broadcasting it openly, reading half an hour, 15 minutes, so the public would be exposed to it, so they would start hearing this wisdom? Yeah, I thought about it. That's what Rash in Ash days also, just start reading methodically, just start reading the Book of Z with the commentary of the letter. Please think and We'll pass it to the whole world, so we like to take the opportunity to say that there's already a team that's thinking about how to do a daily reading of a portion of the to take Barnes' introduction, and the role is to read it as preparation for going to sleep, and for us, and it's like sounds like a product for any person who wants to hear it. Yeah, I just don't think we should start from the introductions from the book of and so on. Yes, this from this. Okay, I see that. No more questions. So say something. MOS. So we have a few announcements. A special Unity evening in honor of. We invite you for a festive meal with music and a lot of joy. Sunday, December 10th at 6 in the dining hall in at the Baby Center. It is our people from 18 and above. It'll be broadcast on the system. Registration for anyone coming physically will be sent today, and today's broadcast 10 Kabbalah Express at 12, the noon lesson, and at 5:30 reading the study of the T field. Will end with a song. Fee. For la 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 la. La 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 la. Lay. For. 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 Yeah, how did that happen? Yeah, how did you do that? Yeah, to be honest, this was weird. That's awesome. Toma. You are